What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue here with our 2023 predictions. Going to wrap up the ACC, show you what the standings would look like based off of my predictions, and then, of course, show you the conference championship game. First year without divisions here, besides the 2020 season. But, yeah, no divisions here in the ACC this season. Going to be, I think, make things a lot more exciting. And this is the one Power 5 conference that may actually look the same in 2024 as it does this year with all the change, of course. You never know what's going to happen, but as of right now, no conference realignment in the ACC. I know teams wanting to leave and all that, but again, if you missed the videos, we've gone through every single Power 5 team, every single ACC team, and I've done individual video, team videos going through every single game and giving my predictions and giving a lot more thoughts on these teams. So we're going to quickly go through each team here and give you what the standings would look like based off of those predictions. Virginia at the bottom, 3-9 overall, 1-7 in the ACC. I think most people agree here this is going to be the worst team in the conference this year. Roster is just not great. Questions at quarterback. Just too many question marks for Virginia to really do a whole lot this year. I don't expect them to get anywhere near a bowl game. I got Syracuse also missing a bowl game at 5-7, 2-6 in the conference. This is a team that some people are a little bit higher on, but I'm really not. Yes, Schrader's back. Yes, you've got Gadsden at tight end, a big-time weapon, but if you really go down their entire roster, there are a lot of holes, a lot of question marks, so I'm not very high on Syracuse this year. Virginia Tech, I think, will improve some this season, get to 5-7, maybe get to a bowl game at 6-6. I was really on the fence with them, but I've got them at 2-6, 5-7 again overall, and then ahead of the Hokies, Boston College, a team that I also think will bounce back a little bit this year, get to a bowl game. Very, very manageable schedule. The non-conference schedule is very easy for Boston College. Even their conference schedule is not horrible. If you remember, I guess it was back in May or April whenever we did the videos on the schedule rankings. Remember, Boston College had the easiest schedule in all of the Power 5, and that's the reason why I think they do get to a bowl game and get to 6-6. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be better than Virginia Tech or Syracuse. I think those three teams are pretty even, but the schedule definitely sets up much, much better for Boston College. Ahead of them, NC State. All right, I understand I'm a little bit lower on this team than some people. I've got them at 6-6, just 3-5 in the conference. I have some concerns about this team. You know, I think Brennan Armstrong coming over, reuniting with his offensive coordinator, I think that's going to work pretty well for them. I think the offense will be okay. But, you know, weapons around him, not a whole lot at running back or wide receiver. Some question marks on the offensive line. And they lost some really good players on defense. And they've got a pretty tough schedule. So I think all that is going to lead to them having a bit of a disappointing season, 6-6, maybe 7-5. I don't think they do better than 7-5. It was kind of between them and Pitt as far as which team. I was going to put one team at 7-5, one team at 6-6. Really kind of went back and forth on that, but I wound up with NC State down here at 6-6 overall, 3-5 in the conference. Wake Forest also 3-5 and 6-6. I think I had them in the head-to-head matchup beating NC State. They have home field advantage in that game, I do believe, so that's why I had Wake Forest just ahead of them, but really tied here. And then ahead of Wake Forest. So let me get back to Wake Forest. This is a team that, again, if you've been watching my videos, I've talked about all these teams so many times, but it's a team that's going to, I still think, have a really, really good offense, but a defense that it might be the worst defense in the ACC. So you're going to have a lot of shootout type games, and they'll win some, they'll lose some, and I think it will be enough for them to get to a bowl game. I think Georgia Tech gets to a bowl game. This is a team that I think is going to have a pretty good season. If you look at their roster, it's not bad. They've added some transfers in there. A non-conference schedule, of course, is going to be tough for them, but I think they actually get to 4-4 in the ACC. And again, a lot of this does have to do with schedules. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be better than NC State or maybe even Wake Forest, but I like the way their conference schedule sets up, and I think it's going to give them a chance to get to a bowl game this year and really perhaps get things going in the right direction there for Georgia Tech. All right, let's go to the top 7 teams now. I've got Duke at number 7. It's a team that I think is going to be pretty good this year, but they have a really tough schedule, and I think that catches up to them just a little bit. It keeps them down to earth a little bit at 7-5, 4-4 in the conference. Could see them maybe doing a little bit better, but it's another example of a team that I think is better than where they're going to be in the standings in terms of, like, if we were doing power rankings. We go to the team ahead of them, Pittsburgh. I think Duke's going to be better than Pittsburgh this year. I really think Duke's going to be a good team, but Pitt has a better schedule in the ACC. I've got them going 7-5 overall, 5-7 in the conference. And again, it was between them and NC State, one of those teams I was going to put at 7-5, one at 6-6. I think those are two teams that a lot of people expect to just be that consistent 8-4, 9-3. And I think both of those teams, a little bit of a disappointment this year. Still decent seasons, nothing bad. But I do think Pitt and NC State both are teams that are maybe going to be disappointments in the ACC this year. And then ahead of Pittsburgh, we've got Miami, also 5-3 in the conference, but 8-4 overall because of the non-conference loss to Texas A&M. But I think I had them beating Pittsburgh head-to-head, which is why I've got them ahead of them here in the standings. Miami has the roster. I mean, they have the roster to, I think, finish in the top 3, but we just haven't seen it come together for them, and I didn't want to overhype them like I did last year. Of course, we all know what happened last year with my predictions with Miami. So I've got them at 8-4, a little bit more conservative, even though I think they have potential to do better than that. North Carolina, 5-3, 9-3 overall. I know they got the bad news on the wide receiver who's not going to be eligible unless they're able to overturn that, appeal that, or whatever. So that hurts them a little bit. Still, I think the offense will be good for them. I think the defense is going to be better than people are giving them credit for. They've got talent on that side of the ball. It hasn't really come together for them. I think they improved some there. Good offense, enough to get to 9-3. I've got Louisville actually finishing number 3. This is a sleeper team in this conference for a couple of reasons. First of all, the roster. They have absolutely upgraded their roster through the transfer portal. Jeff Brom comes in. I think he's going to do a really good job here. We saw him at Purdue do a lot with less talent. He never had a team at Purdue that had as much talent as this Louisville team this year. And so I think the roster is there. They have a really manageable schedule, especially in the ACC. So I think that's actually going to push them all the way up to number 3 in this conference. 8-4 overall because of a couple of tough non-conference losses, but I think they do finish number 3 in the conference standings. And then I've got Florida State at number 2, 10-2 overall, 7-1. Only loss coming to Clemson in the ACC. Because that game is on the road, I am still sticking with the Tigers. And then I think they lose to LSU as well in the opener. And so that means, of course, we have Clemson at number 1, 7-1 also. So a tie right there, 10-2 overall. I've got them being upset by South Carolina at the end of the season. Pretty crazy pick. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But I say it's a crazy pick. Remember, South Carolina did beat Clemson just last year, and they get them at home this year. So maybe it's not so crazy. So I do think Clemson and Florida State will play in the ACC Championship. If one of these teams struggles and they wind up having a disappointing season, I'm looking at Louisville, North Carolina, and Miami. Those are the 3 teams that I think could possibly sneak into the conference championship. But I'm going with Florida State, Clemson, a rematch from a game that I think the conference probably did this on purpose. They put their game early in the season so that they wouldn't play again right away. And a lot of times, everybody thinks it's hard to beat a team twice, but if you look at the numbers in conference championship games, the team that won the original game when there's a rematch won the rematch in the conference championship. So that is a little bit of a myth. But I think it's a little bit of a different story here. I actually think Florida State's the better team. I do have them losing in Death Valley just because that's such a tough place to play. But I think this Florida State team is absolutely loaded. I think they're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country. Clemson, I don't think has as much depth as Florida State, so especially by the time we get to the end of the season, this is going to favor the Seminoles. I've got Florida State winning the ACC championship, and if they can beat LSU in the opener, I think they probably get to the college football. I think they will get to the college football playoff. Right now, I'm sticking with LSU in that game, but that's really it. That's the one game that's going to determine, in my opinion, whether or not this team gets to the playoff, which I think they have the capability of doing that. I think they are, again, a top 4 or 5 team. I do not think they're overrated. I think they're legit. We'll see how it turns out in real life. But I've got them winning the conference, winning the ACC over Clemson in a rematch. Would love to get your thoughts on my predictions and, of course, give me your predictions on the ACC down in the comments below.